Okay, I think we're live. First thing I see in the chat is Max saying, "Hey Duck, can you give advice how to date girls?" Don't worry, I've asked him for the alpha before. He's not one to share. But
I mean, I'm the last person that you want to take advice from, but
yeah, sure. Let us know if we're looking and sounding good. Maybe I want to change the chart if I want the looking good bit to stay true, but sounding good should be a thing.
Jesus, that looks
I know
horrendous,
it
that
doesn't look
monthly
good, does
chart.
it? Are we
Oof.
okay? Audio, video.
To me, it looks good.
Let's see if
And
our
Joey says it's good as
fellow
well. So,
chatters agree. Okay, sweet. I mean, it's Casual Friday. Finally, some live content, right? That'll be fun. Let's get
mhm.
going. First things first, get the FTX app so that your family and friends can join you in your altcoin adventures. It's the best mobile trading app, and you can also swap assets, which means capitulate into stable coins at the bottom and untether, as we used to call it, at the top. No one says that anymore. Have you noticed, Don? It's like no
Yeah,
one really says untether. Because that
I
used to be
mean,
the shit, right? I'm tethered up, bro. It's like, holy shit. Whereas now it's just like, oh, I'm in stables, or I've got die. It's like,
I
we're
mean,
losing some of the verbiage.
yeah. Well, the thing with Tether is that I think there's less to do with it than with other stuff. So I'm
Yes.
guessing, like the Giga brains are like, they're not saying it anymore, and everyone else is just gonna like join because you want to sound like the Giga brains, right?
Yeah, I get that. Did you see that USDT became legal tender in this Bitcoin City Lugano place? Isn't that hilarious?
Yes, yes. I mean, in Switzerland, it's something. I'm not going to comment on anything beyond that, but it is something.
Yeah, fair enough.
People are commenting about my mic. Yeah, I'm on holiday, so I'm sitting here
You
with a
sound
laptop.
fine to me. What's wrong with your mic?
I mean, I'm just guessing that
Oh,
they're
new
like
mic, voice
noticing.
sounds different. Yeah, yeah. He hit
Yes.
puberty. That's what happened in the course of like 3 days or 2 days or whatever. It's just
Oh
all at
God,
once. The catch up.
I'm too old for that.
Oh, I know, I know. I had a funny dream, and well, it's not funny at all. Actually, it was quite terrifying. But I'm sitting at this, the restaurant I normally go to just hang out and shit. So I'm
Yes.
sitting there, and it's time to pay. And I'm friendly with everyone. I've been going there for like 4 or 5 years, etc. The waiter like brings over the card machine thing, and I scan my card, and it's like declined. And I kind of chuckle about it because sometimes the card machine's at fault. It's not like a big deal, etc. And I look up at him, and he's got like a deathly serious look on his face. I'm like, okay, it's like a slight overreaction, like whatever. I've got another card, and then I try my other card, and nothing works. And he's just kind of standing there, not saying anything. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And so I open my phone, right? For some reason, even though I don't have this in IRL, it's some sort of like banking app thing, right? And I open it, and it immediately goes to a chart of Sberbank, and it's down to zero, right? Sberbank went to zero. But this is the best part. It has that FTX style green and red arrow for when you buy and sell. And all I see is like 10 arrows at the top. So in my dream, I bought this Sberbank top via my bank, lost all my money, and then couldn't pay for lunch. And then I woke up, fucking sweating.
That's a rough one, yeah.
So I don't know
Jesus
if that's some
Christ.
kind of market omen or buy signal or sell signal. I don't know what it means, but it
I
wasn't
think it
fun.
means you should not be buying any banks or like any bank stocks.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, Russian equities, the RSI. Have you seen the RSI? It's pretty
Dude,
oversold, bro.
it's flawed out.
Yeah, you know how we used to say, the good old 2018 TA, even 2017, where the indicator is just like going to fucking zero. It's a bear market, and you're like, oh, it's bottoming out, or it's curving up. It's like none of those things were true. It was just like a bearish trend indicator, and we were finding ways to cope because all of our altcoins are going to zero. That was fun.
Yeah, good times. I mean, back then, the altcoins, like some of them anyway, went so low that the indicator actually couldn't go any lower. So people were like, this is flooring out, but it like the indicator just couldn't go any lower.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
good
times.
times.
Good times. What else was I going to say? Yeah, and also the classic 2017 where something had gone through a market cycle and it was on its route to being like moving towards zero and getting delisted. And then people would draw this like box on its so-called accumulation bottom and say, "Would you buy this?" Do you remember that? Would you buy this?
Oh,
It used to be
yeah.
the thing. And obviously like 99% of those charts went to zero. So I guess the correct answer was always no. But it was posted in such a way to suggest that it's bottoming, and a lot of these things didn't have a bottom.
Yeah, I mean, 17, 18 was basically the time where anything, like whenever anything went sideways, was the biggest buy. It's just how like how people presented it every time. Like something goes sideways, accumulation.
Even
every
if it's
time.
down like 80% and then moving sideways, like let's
Yep.
go. Yeah, good times, good times. So also I've discovered for our channel, people like the short market update videos, which are like market only, and then they also like more casual, like actual casual Friday content with very little market. So that's a bit of a wake up signal to us, right? It's like no one actually wants to listen to us talk about markets for an hour. That's some distant pipe dream. Give them the 5-10 minute market analysis injection, or give them the pure kind of IRL spillover, make fun of Don filth. This sort of stream middle ground is disputed. I don't know how CBS does it, for example. I love watching his streams, but he does like 2 fucking hours when he streams, and there's like so much chat interaction, and I don't know, I'm not built for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like where this is going.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll leave you for now. Things are going well for the Doug. So I'll throw myself under the bus if anything. I've never been much of an online dater. I just find it, I already surrender enough of my anus to the algorithms, right? It's like YouTube, Twitch, Spotify. It's like it's all over the place, right? So I thought maybe the one place I could find solace and move away from it is, in my personal life, whatever that term means, right? So I was like, look, I'm not going to do it, yada yada. And then, an uncomfortable period of time had passed, and I hadn't like gone on any dates or done anything of that sort. So I capitulated, just straight up capitulated in the most kind of crypto trading term as much as you want. Like the wick on my life on that day is pretty fucking long. Lots of liquidations. Oh no, that sounds terrible. Anyway, so I got a couple of these apps thinking, right, it's time to dust off the old cobwebs and see if I've still got the chat. I've been practicing talking to schizophrenics on Twitter for, 20 hours a day for 4 years, being instant ratio reply guy. So surely I've got something going, right? And then the great climax of the story is that I didn't get any fucking matches in like a month and just deleted the app. And my self-confidence is still recovering like 6 months later. That's all I've got to say on that one. There you go. Now you can never say that these casual Fridays are just one-sided, me bashing you, etc. I'm just like, this is ritual suicide for me.
I mean, the thing is with like these kind of apps that guys don't understand is that like it's pretty damn obvious if you put in time and effort. Like if you don't even put effort into your profile, no one's gonna give a shit, right? Who wants to date or like even spend time with a person that isn't spending any effort on either like taking good pictures or like writing a good description or whatever. So I mean, if you want like one dating advice, like spend some fucking effort, because if you don't, like there's no fucking way you're gonna get anything.
I mean, that's gonna be my cope from now on, right? That's the difficulty with that argument. I'll just say, oh well, I wasn't trying, so it's fine. I wasn't expecting anything else, and then just cry myself to sleep at night.
I mean, that works. But it was the same for me. Like when I didn't spend much effort, I didn't really have much success. And then you just kind of use your brain a little bit, make it engaging, show what you like, show what you dislike.
I've just got bored apes, like 50 pictures of bored apes on my profile. I just thought it would work, kind of signal my wealth.
Dude, anything crypto related?
I know it's awful,
I think it would even work, but fuck that. No, that is terrifying.
Cool. Crypto, I think NFT would arguably be worse than crypto at this point,
Yeah.
For like the normie discourse, I could see that being a worse strategy somehow than crypto. Do you want to do market first or headlines?
Yes,
first?
let's do headlines first and then markets. Kind of like spare the people the dating stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's a loud minority that wants to hear it, and the rest. I mean,
you got to sprinkle,
off.
some tiny bit of personality from time to time, because everyone's got the same fucking charts and the same maybe up, maybe down, fuck off type of content, right? So you got to make some of it interesting. A lot of these people have been following, have been with us on this journey for like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So it doesn't hurt to, whatever. Who cares? So first article I've got is Ukraine cancels crypto airdrop, plans to sell NFTs instead. Now I don't know, man. This arc to me is mental, right? Like they post the address to get donations in Bitcoin, ETH, and I think it was like was it USDT via Tron? I think that was it.
Yes, it was.
Which is crazy for crypto. Like that's a real Schelling point, like crazy moment for crypto, in my opinion. And then there was this whole talk of, oh, we're going to do an airdrop for people that donate. And you saw that donations spiked massively, right? And they even tried to do that thing where you've got like tens of thousands of addresses donating like the bare minimum, trying to, game theory, optimize whatever airdrop they wanted to get if there were to be one, you know, and that was their expectation given it was announced. And then the airdrop got rugged. This is a nation state fighting a defensive war against the biggest country in the world, rugging an airdrop and, you know, making the promise of NFTs instead, while His Excellency Justin Sun complains on Twitter about how leaving out Tron is unjust. I mean, this is actual clown world, right? Like, none of this can be real.
Yeah, I'd be embarrassed, honestly. Like, how is that even real? Like, how is that even a headline? And then how is Justin just going on like on Twitter and being like, "This is unfair." It's like,
I know, dude, it's mad.
These
like
guys
their
are
capital is
bombed.
being attacked, and you know, a bunch of shit going on, and he's sitting there in Granada, wherever the fuck he is, like billionaire mode, sunny place in the world, not a worry. And then he's on Twitter telling the Ukrainian people, this is unjust, this is unfair. It's like, fucking hell, this man has less than zero self-awareness.
Yeah,
but it's very Justin Sun. It's not like out of character, right? No one was like, "Oh my god, why? I can't believe." No, everyone. You'd expect nothing more from Justin than to fucking behave in this manner, right?
I mean, I'm guessing that's how he was successful in the first place.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like this very business cutthroat kind of like attitude, but it's obviously very, very. I don't know. I dislike the guy, but
it's like people who say that DeFi is so active and there's so much. It's like, I'm sorry, Justin Sun is like 50% of DeFi. You know, he's like a massive whale. But yeah, he's a very interesting character, and I just think, you know, let's just say in slightly poor taste and poor timing, his you know, predictable self-centeredness. But yeah, cancelled airdrop, plans to sell NFTs instead. So I guess Ukraine wartime NFTs are going to be a thing. Maybe it's worth buying a couple of those, you know, or getting those, because you can imagine in like 5, 10, 20 years, whatever. Maybe that's a thing. Who knows?
Yeah,
At least it's legit. It's better than some Fiverr artist spinning up the 11th version of some sort of ape or monkey, and then someone trying to sell that, right? This is legit. And it's probably the first proper nation state NFT that isn't just like a total crock of shit, or at least the mainstream one. I don't know. There's something to it, right? This is a crazy time in history, and this is a memento of it, which is state sanctioned. It's pretty cool. At the very least, it's a fucking step up from El Salvador. Sorry, not sorry.
Oh no, it's gonna
I know it's happening again. I'm gonna shut up. The second story I've got is, this is a bit of a boring one. This is just about, you know, Hisaka made a nice tweet about the bankers are here in Web3, and this is kind of an article by Tim Copeland summarizing jurisdiction-based restrictions for massive infrastructure and service providers like Infura, which kind of all of Ethereum and DeFi by proxy runs on, right? And also OpenSea, just nuking accounts from restricted jurisdictions to comply with something rather. Let me see. Infura closely monitors changes to US sanctions programs announced by the Office of Foreign Assets Control and narrowly tailors its internal controls to comply with the law. Currently, those regions are Iran, North Korea, Cuba, Syria, the Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk region of Ukraine, said a spokesperson for Infura. And then, you know, OpenSea nuked, I think it was was it Venezuelan or Iranian users? I probably should have looked this up.
Venezuelan, as far as I remember. But
yeah, I mean, similar restricted, you know, US sanctions list and generally restricted jurisdictions getting nuked. This isn't terribly surprising, right? Like, we've seen centralized exchanges do this ages and ages ago. Like, yes, their enforcement was shit, and that's like the subject of lawsuits at the moment. But in general, this is kind of what crypto's trending towards, right? As you get, you know, especially on the OpenSea thing, they're clearly not mega interested in kind of being crypto native, if that makes sense. Like, oh, issuing a token, governance, do it the Web3 way, yada yada. Most reasonable, smart, etc. people I've spoken to seem to think they're going down the SPAC, IPO, traditional market type of listing route, which makes sense. But that also means they're going to play by the TradFi rules more so than the crypto rules, right? So this isn't terribly surprising.
Yeah, I mean, OpenSea is kind of known for doing things poorly.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. I mean, the only thing that they've really done really well is just be like at the right time, at the right place, basically, like positioning themselves well. But ever since then, almost every decision that they've made doesn't really agree with me. This being one of them. But then again, I get why they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's just very, very anti-crypto, which is basically... It's a weird world in which you use or like you sell crypto in a very anti-crypto way. And I feel like a lot of the older exchanges are actually very different, right? If you look at Kraken, for example, the people at Kraken that sit there, they're like very, very pro-crypto.
Yes.
And they're going to tell you that, like, if you are living there and there and there and doing like random stuff that isn't going to fly with them, they're like, hey, move your money off of Kraken, right? And yeah, OpenSea a little bit less so. I don't know. It's very, very hard to like the guys at OpenSea, in my opinion.
It's also a reminder of like how centralized a lot of not centralized ETH is per se from a governance perspective, but in terms of ETH infrastructure and ETH like stuff that relies on ETH as infrastructure. Like Infura is such a big deal. Do you remember when it had an outage earlier in the year, or like towards the end of last year? Like nothing fucking worked in the DeFi space, right? And thinking MetaMask was affected as well. You know, the sooner we get that sorted, the better. I know a lot of the ETH guys are waiting for like the merge and proof of stake to come, and then that's supposed to make things easier. But the timelines for those have been murky at best. I was thinking about this ETH thing, and do you remember how like the whole EIP 1559 meme? That was such a good meme. Like like as far as price narrative pump memes, it was such a fucking good meme. Especially because you had people being like, oh, and then the burn is just gonna like accept. It's like, no, it was priced in. You're fucked. It's like it went up like 10 zillion %. That was it. It's not like it's going to go up 10 zillion %, and then EIP goes live, and then there's a burn, and you just basically get the same bull run again, right? ETH would be at like 100K if that were true. And it's still like, if you look at the amount being burnt right now, it's still fucking massive, right? But,
yeah, much less than it was previously.
Yes, because yeah, exactly. But sellers are selling, right?
Yeah.
At least that's what we'll talk about when we get to the charts. But yeah, more kind of crypto infrastructure, yada yada stuff. We wrote about it in Technical Roundup the week before last and last week as well, which we keep forgetting to shill on Twitter because we're useless, but we've been adding some nice little commentary pieces, including on regulation and the direction that's headed. So if you're not subscribed, go to trletter.com. We send one email a week, and it has stuff in it. Final story, it's been a bit of a slow news thing, at least in terms of crypto. Like obviously it's the war in Ukraine is the main topic that everyone's following. There's also some Fed chatter and employment numbers, etc. But that's really where all the news is. And this is somewhat related to that, which is governments are on high alert for crypto in Russian sanctions evasion that nobody has seen yet. I think that last bit is quite funny. It's just the author commenting that the evidence doesn't seem to bear that out. Predictably, we've seen Elizabeth Warren already say, hey, the crypto and Russian oligarchs are using it to circumvent yada yada. Jerome Powell also, I think, touched on the potential sanctions evading properties that crypto may have. I think it's crazy how the Bitcoin and crypto in this specific context get meshed together, because one is like, I think Bitcoin's one of the worst ways to do this sort of stuff, right?
It is.
Like I guess it's like the biggest and most liquid market, but it's also in terms of tracing infrastructure and blockchain analysis, and by virtue of it being like an open public ledger, you can make better fucking choices than that, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just in general one of the worst. Like using a blockchain, it's all public. Like,
yes,
there's no worse place to do this kind of stuff on. In my opinion, anyway. I'm not an expert on like evading evading sanctions. I've never done that before.
On holiday, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, it's all public. You can all just follow it on chain. It's not that difficult. So I mean, you've seen how much trouble the Bitfinex hackers went through, right? And they didn't get their money out. They got apprehended instead.
Yes.
So if you think about that, it's the same problem with countries, right? Like if they start doing this shit, they're just gonna get the exchanges are gonna just not accept it, and then you're stuck. So I don't really see how this would be a problem, but it's an easy way to kind of go against crypto if you don't like crypto anyway.
Right?
Yeah.
And look, I like this bit by the block, which is, as far as broader use, the block recently reported that Binance had seen a factor of 3 increase in ruble volume. Chain analysis data across a broader set of centralized exchanges suggested an 8 times rise in ruble BTC volume, and smaller increases in Ukrainian currency. While those figures are meaningful, the actual numbers in question are in the tens of millions in USD terms. Relative to the needs of the Russian government and oligarchy in the crosshairs of Western sanctions, this represents just a slice. Like, yeah, the numbers don't really add up as far as compelling narrative building for these like zillionaire oligarchs, or even the state itself using, just buying BTC to circumvent these sanctions. It's Again, I don't think it's a compelling narrative at the moment, but as you mentioned, it doesn't need to be, right? You just kind of
Yeah.
mash enough words together to say oligarch, Putin, sanctions, evade crypto, and bam, you get regulation past the lightning speed, which is shitty.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, public opinion is pretty shitty on crypto anyway.
yes,
Crypto and NFTs, like it's not been this bad ever, in my opinion. So it's kind of like it's easy to just talk some garbage, and people are gonna listen.
it's gonna stick. Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
Speaking of as bad as it's been ever, let's take a look at the chart.
Oof.
I mean, that's hyperbole, obviously, but
what a transition.
I know, absurd.
Damn.
So, I mean, the monthly time frame just kind of at the moment looks like a bearish retest of resistance, right?
Yep.
There's not a whole lot that has changed. So this is the, as per I think the technical roundup charts, and we're both more or less in the same spot. You've got like roughly 60k as the range high resistance, low to mid 30s as the range low support, and then this mid 40s as the range midpoint, which is currently resistance. And at the moment, it looks like you had a very one-sided move from the range high into the range low. This is the no pullbacks dump. Then you get, understandably, a bid at the range low that bounces pretty aggressively and gets stuck at the range midpoint. And then, following the monthly close, right, you rally into that same level again, and the market's currently pulling back from there. So market at resistance. On the weekly time frame, I mean, this is like a bit of an ugly wick. Although, to be fair, what you get with these really long wicks is that either the market just disappears and goes to zero, right? In which case, GG. But also, a lot of the time, I don't know if you agree, it'll kind of, if it's particularly long, that there's a decent chance it kind of fills or trades back towards where that wick was and then puts in the candle body closer to the level itself. But that's kind of a minor distinction without a difference. In any case, you can see the same thing on the weekly time frame. The market's just stuck in this. I mean, you could literally use this low as a pretty tight level, or you could just use the whole box, which is the monthly box. It doesn't really matter from market structure point of view. It's the same thing, right? You got a breakdown, retest, bounce from support, retest, bounce from support, retest. Now, the bullish case, the bullish case is that, last time the market dumped, it made this low, and then it retested the level and made a higher low, right? So there's a world in which, and generally speaking, these range midpoints don't tend to be like super inflection points. They're not the strongest levels. It's normally the range boundaries that are stronger. So you could carve out a case that sellers are getting weaker at the range midpoint, which is evidenced by the market making higher lows in each subsequent sell-off. And maybe you get a bit of a kind of volatility constriction, right? And then you get the pop-up to the range high. I could see that. That would make sense. It's just, I think trading back at 30s is just a total pain in the ass from a trade management point of view and finding entry signals and so on. At least on higher time frames, we've seen it be a bit choppy. And the second point I'll make is, in terms of momentum continuation, it doesn't change the broader idea. That I think the bullish momentum setup gets a green light kind of above 46, 47, and then you've got all the space to capture towards 60k or thereabouts. So it doesn't matter kind of, is it going to be a high low? Is it not? How much longer are we going to chop here? If you're if you're comfortable buying the range low, that's fine. But if you're waiting for momentum, no matter whether the market's making higher lows or lower lows on these retests, is resistance getting weaker, stronger? Like, none of that technically fucking matters, because the trade is only triggered once resistance is broken anyway. So you don't have to make the determination of, is it getting weaker or stronger, because it has to trade above it anyway for you to get in. But TLDR, I mean, what? Supporting, resistance resisting, and global stuff could still, throw this thing around. I think that's... as far as I'm comfortable making claims.
Yes.
Would anything else? Do you have any, there's a day, I know that you had the daily 40.5-ish level. I think it comes from this low. I could be wrong.
Yes. It does.
From the 21st of September low.
If you want to be aggressive, that's a decent level. The thing is...
Yeah, what do you think of it right now? So look, what happened was, just to set the scene, right? Mm-hmm. Bitcoin had one of its best performing days since Elon candle day, period, right? You had a massive upswing, 2 crazy big days, and it was the whole buy the invasion narrative seemed to have legs, right? You saw a real bid come in, etc., etc. Then the market hit resistance, and then at the moment it's just kind of bleeding. So what do you make of this? Do you like this 40.5 level? Is it just chop? Is this maybe the last higher low? Otherwise it's fucked. Give us some color.
I mean, yes, basically. Like, if you want to buy, might as well buy here with like a stop below the impulse. So, like, basically where the green candle started.
Yeah.
That said, like, you would not see me buy this just based on the fact that, like,
Because I'm on holiday surfing.
yes, that is also one of the problems. I don't even have like anything with me, so I can't even buy even if I want to. But the other problem is that, I mean, the global situation is so uncertain, right? That, I mean, all the edge that you think you have by reading a chart, I think is even less so than it is
If it were
originally.
real in the first place, yeah.
Yeah, no, like the thing is, if you have an edge, right, and this is the same with in poker, in blackjack, in like all of these games,
Dating.
right? It's yeah, it's tiny, right? You have a tiny edge. You have a tiny edge, and you need to play that edge to perfection to kind of make it long term, right? And that edge is obviously smaller if you kind of concentrate on trading the charts, if it's all moving around news, right? So your edge is smaller. You have to kind of use it more wisely, or just sit out, or you have to kind of find an edge in the news stuff itself.
Good luck. Yeah.
And yeah, good luck with that. Pretty much anyone that trades traditional markets is going to tell you that you should probably stick to like sitting out when news come out, just because the market's just randomly moving everywhere. So with that said, it doesn't really make much sense for me to take many trades. So I'm kind of happy being on holiday, enjoying my time, not having to trade it, because honestly, if I traded this, there's a good chance I would actually lose money. Just like on the lower time frames. Higher time frame wise, like if you're buying monthly support, it's probably still a good bet. But that's quite a bit lower. And if you go back to the weekly, I think if we close the weekly red, we're kind of fucked. Like that's like the one call I'm willing to make. Like if we close this week below 38K, so below that resistance, I don't really see a like good reason to go up. That just looks like it wants to go much lower. So
Right.
that's like the one thing that I would be watching if I wanted to take a position right now. Like if it goes below there, maybe there's a momentum play to the downside, which is really scary, because you saw how big the moves can be when you're at monthly support, right? That's basically where that invasion kind of
Yes.
by the invasion thing came from. The chart being at monthly support, and then you have like a little bit of a narrative and the thing pops. It's just how crypto works. So you have to be careful with shorting these kind of levels. The thing is, if they go hard, right? So if you're sitting there with bids at like 30K, 31K, 29K, I think you're going to get rolled over big time. I don't think that's worth bidding. Like 25 to 20K, if we go and break the lows, that makes sense to me. Otherwise, like if you really want to buy, I think like trying to buy here and then praying to God that the daily closes up is somewhat decent, but I wouldn't be willing to take it.
Fair enough. Yeah, it seems like, sometimes you look at the market and there's obviously a trade that's in the driver's seat, right? And at the moment, that seems to be the retest of resistance and the subsequent pullback. That's like the main thing. And then, we're approaching that type of spot now, just in terms of price, where it's dangerously close to retracing kind of the best day of the year. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And just how shitty is that, right? You get like the strongest day of the year. Again, we saw the fucking decoupling memes. They're not even memes. There's people like offering serious analysis. I'm so fucking sick of it. I've even done, in the most like diplomatic way I can, passive aggressive subtweets in replies of my friends' tweets, right? That's kind of the best I can do. Where I'm like, hey, decoupling is nice, relative strength is nice, but it'd be good to see it stick. More than one fucking candle of this so-called decoupling, and I guess that's asking for too much. But yeah, I agree with you that there's daily structure around 40, but if it goes much below that, I mean, just from a purely price structure point of view, you have best day of the year, hits resistance, and then fully retraces, right? All that's left is to draw the bollocks on this thing, and yeah, I just drew a dick, sorry. But yeah, I don't know, I'm not super compelled to do business here. I still think, again, as per the newsletter and everything else, momentum trades through the mid 40s, there's like plenty of space to capture that, and you'd get like also, at that point you'd also get like bullish break in market structure. That's something this rally failed to achieve, right? It didn't make a higher high on the daily time frame, which is like come on, give me something to work with, right? Like, if I'm trying to fade like a monthly, weekly trend, whatever, just at least give me something on the daily market structure basis that's constructive. I mean, one of the best, as depressing as this sounds, one of the best cases is still chop, right? That the
Yes.
market doesn't totally roll over, and that we look back at this in 2 to 8 months and say, oh, this 30K thing, everyone was waiting for it to break or spike the lows and do this and that, but it was just like just a very grindy reaccumulation. That could very well be the case, right? So you know, chop wouldn't be bad in given if you know if you look at what's happening outside, you open any newspaper, chop in this context is a fucking gift in my opinion.
I agree. I agree. And I mean, the thing is, with like this macro backdrop, like you said, there's not that much more to expect. People are like, oh, this is the time where Bitcoin is going to shine, blah, blah, blah. I don't necessarily agree. This is still like a risky bet, right?
Yeah.
Almost everyone that is in this understands that it's a risky bet. And they're gonna, like, if they feel at risk, that's kind of how I felt with NFTs, right? I know that NFTs are a risky bet. The moment I saw the invasion coming, I was like, fuck this shit. I'm not taking risky bets while the global situation looks like this. And I sold off my NFTs, right? And the same thing is going to be true for the people that are in crypto to make money. They're going to be saying, okay, I mean, the market, like the world is kind of in a shit place. I'm going to sell off the risk assets that I have. And Bitcoin is going to be one of them, I think, anyway. The question is, when do they like run out of coins to sell? And is that ever going to happen? Because that's actually a meme that people like spread around where it's like, oh, the bears are out of coins to sell. The thing is, the lower price goes, the more coins actually like unlock to be sold because people just freak the fuck out, right? It's just at some point
That's been so dangerous. That point of everyone who's wanted to sell has already sold, and then price goes down one tick, and suddenly, hey, there's a new group of people who didn't want to sell, but now they, you know, it's very hard to gauge this kind of stuff properly, especially outside of really huge liquidation-driven moves. Like if it's just like spot selling or just very, you know, linear and yeah, just like I guess organic selling, if you want to call it that. And it's not liquidation driven. It's very hard to pick a point where it's like, yep, they're done, you know. Like with liquidations, you can because you know liquidations, especially massive outsized ones, they're by their nature somewhat mean reverting, right? Especially when they actually fucking stop. But with this kind of stuff, it's a bit different. My kind of gut take on it, and this isn't like an opinion that I'm gonna, you know, that has a trade attached to it at the moment. But the crypto industry feels pretty comfortable with Bitcoin at 30K, right? Like if you listen to Sam talk about the crash that took the market to 3K, as we interviewed him on Technical Roundup, do you remember his whole point was like crypto businesses just didn't even have this as a fucking model or even in any kind of contemplation that crypto could go to these prices, and suddenly you had a bunch of crypto businesses that became untenable, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not making an analogy between now and March, obviously, although I think it could be fucking worse depending on how you weigh certain factors. Again, beyond my expertise, I'm not dabbling in that. But it just feels like at 30K, the industry is comfortable, right? There's no actual industry crunch like there was in the type that Sam was talking about. But I think you're right that if that goes, and people start thinking, okay, well, where, you know, if this is a breakdown of a multi-week, multi-month range at 30K, where might the bottom be, right? And then you have to start thinking at least minus 20, minus 30%, at least, right? For that type of breakdown. Yes. And I think that just leads the maths to an uncomfortable place for a lot of industry participants. Again, that's not a fucking call on the market. Relax. You just got to think through counterfactuals as well. I mean, 30K did a wonderful job of absorbing all the China, Elon, massive leverage blow-up move, right? And then it's round two. It's the rematch. I guess my bullish, optimistic scenario is the one I mentioned, where the world looks like shit, but just because Bitcoin just falls to such a relatively low market cap when it's at 30K, there's kind of enough to keep it grinding, moving sideways, absorb, yada yada, and that also is contingent on US equities not going to zero as a result of all this tightening and Fed schedule, etc. That's literally the best case scenario, that this monthly support, this monthly area of 30k ends up being your pain in the ass, grindy, bottom, spiky, absolutely awful vol compression price action, and then the market shoots out of it. That's your best case, because if that's not it, it's a lot lower down, you know, which is why I think I harken back. Is that even a word? Hark? I don't know. Fucking.
I can't ask you about that kind
No,
of
I know,
stuff.
I know. I made the video on the Technical Roundup channel, which was there are two trades in BTC. One of them is buying 30k ish, and the other one is buying like 50% down from 30k. That's it. There's the only two really bullish high time frame trades that make sense. Everything else is a bit of a wash. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's
Did you
at
just
least...
call for 15k?
No, I'm saying, look, if 30k properly rolls over an equity, you know, imagine what equities would have to look like for that to be the case, right?
Yes.
Like the actual market melting scenario. Yeah, you start buying at like 20k, 15k. You got to consider the size of the move that would follow that type of breakdown, and beyond technicals, what the fucking world would have to look like for that to be the case. And that's not something you knife catch with like 10, 15%, right? Because it's exactly like 6k. It's like the biggest range and largest yearly support crypto had ever seen. It broke, and you have people knife catching 5.8, 5.3, 5.1, 4. You know, they all ate shit.
Yeah, I ate shit
the
at
point
4.7. So yeah.
And also, just while we're here, ETH. What do you think of ETH? Because I've got the daily chart, and it's doing the thing where it didn't pump as hard as BTC, right? So that's a
And
bit
it's
of a...
dumping harder.
Yeah, well, it didn't pump as hard, and now it's fully retraced. Almost fully retraced that week. So what's going on here?
With ETH, what I said in the last episode that I made, which I think was 2 days ago, was that I really don't see like a good reason to be bullish on it, even with Bitcoin looking strong. Because the thing is, like, one, ETH BTC looks like shit, and two, ETH USD, you can just look at it, right? It's like a clean trend down. And every time...
weekly is, I don't know, man.
It's hideous. And the thing is, like, every time... This weekly, like, if you open... Oh, God, I can't even look. The thing is, like,
it's
every
green.
Time... Yeah, but this is the exact candle that I'm warning you guys about on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin turns out into the same fucking candle, just fucking run, in my opinion. But I'm gonna make you guys sell the bottom, but I mean,
yes,
just look at it.
This is such a fucking typical influencer thing. There's guys like on holiday at the beach. He's like, I'm giving you guys a warning. If you're dead, fucking run and sell while you're just on the fucking beach. How am I supposed to take you seriously? You're literally like MM Crypto. You're like in the back of some fucking villa. I am warning you guys, the market is going to zero. Use my ref links. You know, it's like, shut the fuck up, dude.
I mean, to be fair, before I left, I told everyone that I was selling ETH, and that was like near 3k. So is what it is. But yeah, I mean, this just looks hideous. I don't really see a good point in buying it before 2k. Really, like with ETH, same kind of story as Bitcoin. If it goes above 3.3k, I mean, you can take the trade from 3.3 to 4, or maybe even all the way above all-time high. But like before that happens, like it just looks so bearish. Reminds me of a 2018 chart. I'm in general very, very bearish on altcoins, just based on the fact that, do you really want to bet on a hyper speculative kind of market when you have like Russia bombing, like Russia bombing Ukraine, right? And then having like the threat of nuclear war floating above your head, which I'm not like considering as like something that you should necessarily consider, but it's like the backdrop is pretty shitty, right? For like speculative assets. Do you want to like invest into Dogecoin when you think that there could be nuclear war? I don't think so. Like, if you expect nuclear war, you shouldn't really have that affect your market or your trading kind of style anyway, because we're fucked at that point anyway. But just the fact that a bunch of people might be expecting it and therefore not put their money into like stupid shit like Dogecoin or Shiba or other altcoins just makes me more bearish on them. And I think ETH is still an altcoin. And people are going to be angry at me for saying that, but it's tough. Like, the backdrop is really tough, and you're not going to get me to be bullish on it. And especially with a chart like that, the ETH USD chart looks hideous. ETH BTC looks really bad.
Bottom. Yeah. No, sorry.
I mean, maybe.
What do you think of gold here? I've got the weekly chart open.
I mean, the thing with gold, right, is it takes so long. I'm bullish that chart, even on the monthly. I'm bullish gold on that, like ignoring that it's gold because gold is fucking stupid in my mind. I'm bullish on that, right? That's a bullish chart. You cannot make an argument that that's a bearish chart, but it's gold still. So you're not gonna see me suggest any trades or anything like that. But I think like if
Digital
you have
gold only, bro.
yeah, I mean, if I had to make a choice, I'd buy the digital gold over the real gold. And yeah, with gold, if you have a position, I mean, looks like it's in a good spot. I would not want to like necessarily close that, but it's gold. So
Fair enough. I think I've owned like 10K of gold or something, and that's 10K too much, in my opinion.
yeah. I mean, how long have you been owning it? If you've been owning it for 15 years, maybe you're just barely in the green. It's like
Yeah, I know, it's depressing. Also, as soon as I typed, "Can buyers start buying, please?" it bottomed on the 5 minutes. So.
Oh, that is bullish. Oh, that chart. I don't know. Like, I'm just glad that I don't have to deal with this. I think most people, yeah, I mean, most people just shouldn't. Honestly, the thing is, whenever the market gets this hard, and anyone telling you that the market is easy right now, I think it's just on crack. It's just not true. Then you like should just not waste your time. You can do other stuff instead.
So if you don't have the luxury of just going on holiday whenever you don't want to take your one trade per year, what would you suggest as productive ways to spend that time if it's not like day trading or whatever else?
I mean, I'm gonna make people upset again, but I think like actually doing work, as in earn money somewhere else,
like get a job.
Yes, if you don't have the luxury of just sitting there doing nothing. And then other than that, obviously, like research always pays. People like meme about it. But if you think back on DeFi, right, the people that did research all became millionaires, billionaires, right? It's just how it is. Like the people that researched DeFi early and actually gave it a shot all made out like bandits. They all got rich off of it. And that doesn't have to repeat, but it does repeat pretty much every time.
Do you think like there's a counter argument of sort, which is that the market, where we are in the market cycle relative to where we were before DeFi took off?
Yes.
The environment is such that those coins that are going to be the massive outperformers or even the best sectoral bets next clear cycle, they don't like exist at the moment.
Yes. Yes.
Therefore, whatever you research now maybe doesn't even fucking survive, and the best performing sector or narrative hasn't even been born out yet. Because if you think about like when DeFi, and I you know, a lot of the DeFi stuff, I mean, the reason part of your point is so compelling is that some of those were fucking like lend, right? The whole Aave thing, that was a 2018 ICO or some shit, 2017, I don't even remember. Like some of these coins are really, really, really old. But I think there is some consideration on the whole FA research part, is that a lot of the stuff, especially if you don't have like good parameters or timeframes for your research, a lot of the stuff you're going to be looking into, like it probably won't be around when the tides shift, you know?
I 100% agree with that. And I don't think you should necessarily look into, I mean, you should look into coins and stuff, right? Or like protocols, but you should not be marrying to them. Sure. So you should not be sitting there being like, okay, this is the coin that is going to change it. You should be looking at, okay, this is the idea that is going to change this, right? So you can sit down and be like, okay, lending, for example, I mean, that's an old meme. It doesn't have to come back, right?
Sure.
I'm just taking it as an example. You're like, this is really interesting. I think this could do really well into the future. And then you kind of just stay up to date with it, right? So you find a use case of crypto that you really like, a use case that you would use yourself.
Number go up is my favorite use case.
I mean, that's basically the only use case that I have. But if you like, if you're smart enough and if you have enough drive, you can sit down, think about what you would want to have in crypto, and then research in that direction, and then use everything that is in that direction. And then you're going to be one of the few people, there's not going to be many, that actually understand what they're talking about. And then if a new project comes out that does it better than the rest that has been around for a while, you can then take advantage of it. That's like one of the ways. But you obviously have to, one, use your brain. You have to critically think about it, and you also have to be patient, right? So it's not as easy as just drawing a line on the chart.
Oh
and
fuck.
then hoping it goes up or down. So it actually takes some real work.
Another
But
thing you can do on that note, you mentioned the whole, you don't need to find the exact token, but the idea is enough, right? A
yes,
lot of really smart people have been doing podcasts and Up Only and Technical Roundup and Bankless and whatever Jason, I forgot the name of Jason Choi's podcast. Whatever, like a lot of smart people are very open about, yeah, I mean, they won't always shill their bags, but most competent interviewers at some point will ask them, what are the sectors slash ideas you're bullish about? And
hmm
they share very happily as to what those are, right? And so that could be a starting point. Go open, go look at some of the bigger podcasts, or just go to the funds that you like, or the prominent people that you know whose ideas you enjoy, or successful funds, whatever. Like for example, just one off the top of my head, I know Kyle Samani. It's a bit of a meme, right? But whatever. Kyle did a the Scoop, which is the Blocks podcast today, and there's like a whole predictions section at the end of it, and he's talking about layer ones and whatever else, so you can see what he gives a shit about. We asked Avi, and also when Will did his podcast with Avi, they talked about like what are the sectors you're bullish for this year and next year. He also talked about it on the Untitled Crypto podcast with Kobe, etc. Luke recently spoke to what's his name, Sasha, who's the NFT fund trader from Arca Invest, and that's like one of the relatively few NFT funds in the space. And they talked about the sector and what's going to do well, what's going to do poorly. And look, I'm an idiot and who's just watching fucking Elden Ring playthroughs all day and not trading this. This is just off the top of my head, just by passively consuming like the stuff that comes up on my newsfeed. There are some very decent pointers as to where to gear your research, so you don't have to start from zero. Um,
yes.
those are just some very, very quick ideas.
And then, I mean, you can kind of make out what you like yourself and just try it out. And if you're like, oh, this is so bad, but it could, if it got improved, it could be something good, and then you just stay on top of it, right?
Such hypocritical fucking bullshit, though, Don. We're sitting here being like, "Oh yes, do all this research,
Yeah.
listen to these podcasts." Right? Not. Are you going to do that? I know I'm
No,
not.
no,
I mean, I
no.
should. I might if if it goes low enough. If
I mean,
prices
that's the
keep
thing.
looking like this, I might.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with me is that
Oh, here we
at
go.
the point.
I can do a whole episode on this.
Thank you very much. No, at the point where I'm at in my career, I'm too lazy,
Right.
and I will admit that it's something that misses me out. Like I've missed out on a shitload of money by being too lazy, but I'm fine with it. Right, I value my free time more than I would value the money that I make from like sitting there and researching 40 hours a week. But I think if it was me back in 2017, that's what I did, right? I still remember, and this is like the biggest meme ever, but when I got into the space full time, right, I actually researched every single top 100
No, that's a classic. Yeah.
market cap project, and not just, okay, this is like the market cap and then write the market cap down, go to the list. No, I like actually looked into what they did and what they were good at and how the community looked and all of that
And
kind
that's why
of
you shorted in
garbage.
2018. You finished your research and you were like, "Oh my god, it's all vapor."
I mean, that is one of the reasons why I was so bearish on it all. Yes, because you kind of realize, like back then, you realized there was nothing behind it. But it was also easy to figure out which projects were actually like somewhat decent, because you don't have to. Back then, everything was shit, right? Let's be real, everything was shit. Bitcoin transaction fees were astronomical. ETH transaction fees the same. The altcoins didn't work; were all garbage. But you could kind of compare them all to each other, and then you could kind of figure out what is decent compared to the rest. And nowadays, there's actually projects that are decent compared to the real life use cases that you have, which is obviously much, much nicer. Now you don't have to sift through the garbage that I sifted through, because trust me, 2017, 18 coins, some
Dude, it
of the
was bad.
worst you've ever seen, even in the top 100. Nowadays, it's a little bit more complicated. So you're going to have to kind of research, look up stuff, terms that you don't understand. But at
But also
least it's
access
not
to
full
research at the
blown
same time.
garbage.
The
Yes.
complexity is up, but access to research is also up a lot. And yeah, that includes paid stuff like the Block, Delphi Digital, whatever, whatever. But also includes just open sourced research, if you will. So people just writing threads and kind of podcast notes, whatever else, that's at all-time highs. So there's a lot there. Also, 40K at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see 39,999?
Dude,
Oh, we just saw it. There we go. And here are the stops being hit of the sub 40K guys. Good night.
I'm just not going to open the chart till I'm back if we go back and close at 38K because, oh God, the chart, I mean, this just looks like garbage.
Ooh. I mean, I'm on the 5 minutes, so every move looks like...
it looks hilariously big. Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, we can talk about all of this. It's just the fact that everything is news dominated and stock market dominated. And it's just the lines on the chart aren't going to matter too much besides the ones that are really, really important. You're not going to see Bitcoin break below 20K just straight up. You're not going to see it break below monthly support at 33 straight up, in my opinion anyway. So like those are the ones you can trust for a little bit. The lower time frame stuff, even if you tell yourself you have an edge in like drawing like lower time frame support resistance, I mean, I just don't believe you. That's what I'm gonna say about the
Holiday man does not believe aspiring scalper.
Yep, I mean, I like that. I like the sound of that actually.
Yeah, I can see that. Any final tidbits we should anything in the chat come up that we should address? Because I think that's kind of it, right?
I mean, 50% of the
people
chat
on their Friday nights for too long.
Yeah, I mean, 50% of the chat was just asking about either my dating life or our Vegas trip.
Oh, jeez.
That was like at least 50%.
I mean, both of those are awful. It's just not worth revisiting.
What is that supposed to mean? And the rest was basically just people complaining about Bitcoin price. So
oh, fine. All is in order, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I get it. I get why you would want to complain about this, because if you have one of the best days followed by 3 days that full retrace, that best day,
each red day bigger than the one before it, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the monthly real quick, sure. I don't want to FUD too much. Like I said, I'm sitting here surfing. I'm sitting in the sun with like good temperatures and surfing. So like, if I'm gonna FUD you at the bottom, I'm sorry. I'm not going to take any trades. So, but yeah, if you look at the Bitcoin monthly chart and remove all the lines real quick, like to hide them, it's 3 candles down, a little bit of a bounce. And then, I mean, it looks like it could just have another three candles down. Not going to lie. It's not the prettiest chart. That's why I said last month, I would have actually preferred if last month closed lower, because what we want to see here, and this is something Cred said earlier, we want to see sideways here, right? Best case scenario, we start rounding out, we keep holding the monthly support, and then we build like a massive range, because if we build like a good base, there's something to work with. Right now, there's very little. The support has been tested once, almost like pretty much twice already. Two candles back to back. If we do that again, it's only a matter of time when it breaks, right? So you want to actually like have it round out in the positive way. It's pretty hard to do that though with the macro situation. So I'm not too excited. I think it makes a lot of sense to just, like you said, wait for mid 40Ks to kind of be broken. And then we have a little bit of an easier time taking advantage of upside.
And it gives you a clear bias level that, you know, you can tag on some risk now that at least midterm trend has shifted, but if it falls back below that level, you know, the lows are most likely cooked. It's just like a better structure to deal with.
Yeah.
But in short, you know, supporting, resistance, resisting, and there's war in Europe. Fuck this.
Yeah.
You know?
It's all kind of shitty.
Yeah, no, for real. It's just, yeah. Cool. I think that's pretty much all from us. I'm sure you've got like surfing, bar crawl, adventure, tour guide, bullshit holiday stuff to do.
I think I have a date.
Hey, okay,
tonight,
great.
But yeah,
it took you less than a day on the local Tinder to get
I actually,
set up.
it's not the only one, but yeah, is what it is.
Oh, you've planned out your week, have you?
I mean, might as well take advantage of it.
How many dates do you manage to plan just for this?
No, I haven't planned anything yet, but I mean, I have planned something, but not too many. It's just chatting with people. But then again,
yeah,
like,
same. You know, right after this, actually, I'm already late. So yeah, she's a model. You don't know her. It's fine.
Nah, but I mean, it's just, I mean, it's the island life, you know?
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. For
It's,
sure.
it's like,
We've all been there.
I don't know what it is, but the women on islands are like one is prettier than the next. It's just how it is. So,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yep.
Just all these memories come flooding back. Of what we were talking about.
Music Sphere says she goes to another school. Yep.
Yeah. Although I question why you're dating a schoolgirl if you're going to use that one, but we won't go there.
I mean, I was talking about you though.
Shut up. I was careful not. I love that joke, but now I've stopped using it for that exact reason. Like you say, she goes to another school. It's like, wait, she goes to school, mate. You're 20, whatever. You're in your mid-20s, and yeah, it's not good. There are no winners in that interaction.
That is true. Yeah.
That's all from us. Leave a like on the video if you like Casual Friday, and to support the channel, subscribe, get the FTX app. There are wonderful partners, sponsors, etc. Freely trade assets, buy stuff, sell stuff, NFTs. Everything you need to financially ruin yourself before Don's magic 3 monthly red candles show up while he's on holiday. Of course, it's perfect. That's all from us. There is Monday markets stream as usual on Monday, newsletter Tuesday. If Don manages to remember that he's got other non-dating obligations, I'm sure there'll be a stream on Wednesday, and then hopefully a podcast on Friday, maybe. We'll see if anyone wants to talk to us. You know, I think Kobe's on holiday, so we're going to take advantage of the up-only hiatus so people can, you know, settle for technical roundup.
I mean, we can talk with Moon Overlord, actually. He has voiced interest in doing podcasts.
That'd be fun.
I think so.
Cool. All right. Duck, enjoy. To our audience, have an excellent weekend. That's all from us. Thank you again to FTX. Go get the app, please. And yeah, have a wonderful weekend. See you on Monday. Take care.
Bye-bye.